Welcome to the Postpartum Coach podcast, where we embrace our needs as moms, we learn to lead ourselves first, then our families, and where we create our own healing from the inside out to find our way to the work we were meant to do in this world. I'm your host, a fellow mom of 3 and a certified life coach, Lizzie Langston. Hello, everybody. Hi, gorgeous. How are you? Okay. It's me. It's Lizzie. Hopefully you know that by now. I'm a little nervous. I think it's because I'm going to talk about a topic that feels fresh for me, and it feels like a big topic. And I've been a little bit intimidated by taking on this topic of trauma and trauma responses because it's so huge. There's so much that I could talk about, and there's so much I'm still learning. But I realize I know a lot more than many people. And so I went ahead and just put my blinders on. I'm going to share. So today, it's going to be a smorgasbord of all things trauma. Okay. I'm really excited about this because I've been experiencing trauma from childhood. And when I say that, I kind of feel like I want to protect the privacy of my family and my family members. So I don't want you to go make assumptions about anything. Because the truth is, if I can't, I'm not going to share that many specific examples because I don't feel like it's appropriate. And I don't really need to be doing that in order to teach you. And in fact, it could even be detracting, which I don't want that either for anybody's sake. So I won't be sharing super specific things, but I will also say that everybody has childhood trauma because when we were children, even if we grew up in the most loving, perfect household, we didn't know how to regulate our nervous system, and our nervous system had times where it got really worked up and we didn't really know how to bring it back down, and we never did. So that's what actually causes, let's start with this little lesson. If you've ever been wondering, what causes trauma, I mean, all that trauma is at its core center, trauma is just the fight or flight or freeze or fawning. It is basically when your nervous system is activated. Okay. Now, anxiety is the same thing. It's just that anxiety is about a future thing. So anxiety is actually the same response as trauma, but anxiety, you're having that response based on a future, what if this happens? Oh my gosh, that would be so scary. Whereas trauma is the same fight or flight or freeze thing, but it's based on the past. This thing did happen. Okay. And in this present moment, I've experienced what we call a trigger. That could be literally a person that walks into the room where, this past thing happened with. So it's basically a continuation of the nervous system dysregulation, and I'll explain that in a minute, of that moment way back when. So let me give you a couple examples. Let's say, I know some of us in our generation were spanked when we were little. So let's say your parents spanked you when you were, 7 years old. And it was kind of out of control, and it was really scary for you, and you didn't feel like you were either assisted or able to calm yourself down. And so you forevermore were pretty afraid of that parent. And if you ever saw spanking or heard about spanking, or even a sound that sounded like the slap of a spank, you noticed that your body would just tense up. Okay. So that's called a trigger, right? The sound of somebody, even if it was the sound of somebody slapping someone's butt for fun, or the sound of a high five, let's say it sounded just like when you were spanked when you were little, you might experience a nervous system activation. Okay. We're talking sweaty palms, a pumping heart rate, shortness of breath. Okay. A racing mind, foggy brain, inability to focus, really can't hear when someone's talking to you and you're freaking out in a trigger trauma response. It's like they're saying words, but you're only able to catch threads of what they're actually saying. Okay. And this does happen postpartum. I want you to know that. So when you experience, we call them anxiety and depression. And sometimes anxiety and depression can be, even though they have more to do with recent events or future events, they could be also related to and in the greater context of trauma from when you were little or birth trauma. Okay. Now, I want to do a whole episode on birth trauma, but I will just tell you, if you don't think you had birth trauma, you still could. And I don't say that to there's nothing scary or wrong about having trauma. In fact, it's really empowering to know that you've had trauma and to be able to put a name on it. But I will tell just really briefly on the topic of birth trauma, I will just tell you that most women on consults and in my clientele, they will say things like, it wasn't as bad as some, so it's definitely not, like we do, and I did, we talk ourselves out of trauma because we're not educated and we're not aware and we don't know how to measure it. We just know of this random word that our friends use or that we hear on the news or in a research paper that we read or a magazine article. We don't actually know how to measure trauma. And so we don't actually we're not always actually able to identify that we have experienced it. So let me just briefly, when it comes to birth trauma, I want you to know that birth trauma is if you were in an activated nervous system state at all, if you were not calm, confident, relaxed the whole time you were giving birth, then that was traumatic for you. Whether it was literally just the event of pushing and you had an epidural and we need to stop associating events with trauma, but rather the actual measurement is not the events. That's what we do that a lot in society. Rape. Oh yeah, that's trauma. But being stuck in a rainy storm when you're driving home, that's not trauma. The measurement is your nervous system, girlfriend. Okay. And the collective measurement is the individual nervous system for everybody else. We all need to be checking in on our own nervous systems. Okay. So that's just with birth trauma. I want to talk about something called betrayal trauma because this comes up postpartum. So I'm going to talk about it. So betrayal trauma is a specific kind of trauma that we name it betrayal trauma because it fits these following little categories. Okay. So you're in a romantic committed relationship with someone. Okay. Or at least you think you are, whether the other person really actually is or not. Okay. And, something went as wasn't expected. Let's say your expectations in your marriage are that you guys only, view each other's naked bodies and you only experience sexual pleasure with each other. And maybe you find out that your husband's been looking at porn and masturbating. So this is, and I hope that's not triggering for anyone. So this would be called betrayal trauma. Now, I've experienced betrayal trauma to a degree. I'm not going to share specifics. Okay. There's many types of betrayal trauma, and it doesn't have to be with a husband. It can be just any sort of relationship, like a boyfriend or, usually when we say betrayal trauma though, it's romantic and there's some sort of commitment and expectation. And then but again, the measurement is in the activation of your nervous system and in the behaviors that follow from a nervous system activated place. Okay, so let me just finish describing betrayal trauma. So some behaviors could be having a hard time waking up, getting out of bed. Some behaviors could be, and again, if I mention a behavior that you've noticed that you've done, I don't want you to come down hard on yourself. This is all just about getting educated. There's nothing wrong with you if you are in some sort of a trauma response of any kind. Okay? The whole part of growing up and healing and getting healthy is knowing and being able to identify and not being scared of, but being aware of. That's when you go from emotional child and acted upon by your own trauma. Even if you don't even know about it, you're still being acted upon it because you don't know about it, to then being aware of it. Okay? Awareness is key. Awareness is going to set you apart from the dysfunction of your past family members or anyone in your life. Awareness. You need awareness. That doesn't mean you have to break off relationships, although you can if you desire to, or you need to, or whatever. It doesn't mean you have to publicly humiliate people or, you need to betray anyone. You just want to be aware of patterns and trauma in your body. So going back to betrayal trauma, a lot of wives, let me just use this example to start, because I've just done a lot of work in the wife department with my clients and stuff. A lot of wives will sort of like fawn in the bedroom. So like, for example, let's say your husband, I'm going to go back to the pornography example, mostly because I just think it's a very common example for many women. So let's say that you already knew, or you've known for a little while, that your spouse views pornography, and you try to tell yourself you don't care and that it's fine, and you know he loves you and you trust him, but you notice that you feel really nervous when it comes to like sexual encounters with him. And you notice you might have thoughts like, is he only asking me to do this because, I don't know, because I look like somebody in a porn magazine, or did he get this idea for this position or posture because of something he's looked at, right? And like, this is trauma. And I want to bring this to you guys because what happens is when we're not aware that we're experiencing trauma, we will like literally just lose our footing in our life. We'll get off kilter. We will feel like a version of ourselves that we don't recognize, or like a fraction of ourselves. We'll be exhausted. We can have exhaustion, foggy mind, and anxiety and depression. So oftentimes I notice that anxiety and depression are just the beginning. So people come to me and they just want to like learn how to manage anxiety, and they want to go on their way. They want to learn how to get out of their depression and go on their way. And what typically happens is, number one, they feel really safe with me. And that is like the biggest medicine, because they're not really feeling safe in their own bodies and they don't know why. So they start to feel safe with me. I help them to feel safe in their own body. This is huge, monumental, fantastic. I don't know what I was going to say. Fondling. I don't know. So the first thing that must shift, if you want to, let's shift into this. Speaking of shifting, let's shift into like, how do you, once you know that you have trauma, maybe I've given you enough information to be like, oh my gosh, yeah, I think I probably have more than I realize. Most people, honestly, most women are like, oh yeah, I know it's in there. I don't know what it is exactly, and I don't even want to touch it because I have a lot going on right now, but all of us know. So, the number one thing you need is safety. Now, most women are so deep into their trauma. Not all women, but a lot. I'll just say a lot. A lot of us women are so like inundated with trauma in our body. Like our body has so much stored trauma, and it's been going on for so long, that a couple things happen. Number one, we just start to like become a woman that like our trauma, we just get confused and we think that it's just how we are. Like, oh, I'm just like this. I just love planning. I just love doing things really fast. We don't even realize that like we're being impacted by the trauma that's in our body on a day-to-day, chronic, like daily basis. And there's nothing wrong with this. You can live a beautiful life with trauma. I just hope like the message is get aware, because the more aware you are, the more liberated you can become and free yourself from the trauma that's in your body. And from the way it's minutely impacting you day to day in your life. And then you can really start to discover who you really are. Okay. I'm going to pause like how to get out of it. I want to share with you. That's actually what this last like 18 months has been for me, is I was able to identify childhood and birth trauma and like teenage, boyfriend trauma and like new mom trauma. I was able to like see it all. And there's probably more I'm going to be seeing, religious trauma, marriage, anything in my marriage. I've just been able to like see it all. It was really big. And I wouldn't say it was overwhelming because I had lots of support around me. But it required energy. It required finances. It required time. It required space, a lot of space. Oh my gosh, a lot of space. And as I'm kind of like fitting back into my body and in my shoes and in my life, because it goes in waves too. It's not like one and done. It's not like you do this big trauma release and then it's gone. There's always these little triggers, and it's definitely the harder road. Actually, there's two different hards. There's the first hard road around trauma is being impacted by it and not knowing, and having symptoms come up that are really confusing, like anxiety and depression and like postpartum rage and snappiness and passive aggression and like painful sex, or not even really interested in sex. Like painful sex, by the way, trauma. If sex hurts, it's trauma. Your body's talking to you. And it's probably trauma around either a past boyfriend, your dad, or your husband, or a little bit of all of them. Okay. Same thing. Low breast milk can be trauma. It can be trauma related to your mom and related to your confidence around being a mom. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. Hopefully you're like, what? It's everywhere, baby. Your body is like the most well-written book. And there's so much of the real you. In fact, that's my passion. I'm going to make you like a proposition here. That's my passion for you. I know I'm all over the place, dudes. That's why I'm calling this like a bonus episode, because I need to be, because there's so much to say on this topic and I'm so passionate about it. I'm just going to let myself go here. What I'm the most passionate about, probably out of everything that I do and in the work that I approach with postpartum women, rather just women that happen to be moms at any stage of motherhood, is when they get so far across the river of misery of trying to figure out their symptoms and get healing and stuff. They do so much work, just enough to where they're able to look back and they see a version of themselves that they left behind, and they come home into who they really are. And they might not have known that person in their whole life. If you lived in a tumultuous childhood setting, whether it was one parent or both parents or a sibling, even if there was one event, the rest of your life could be tumultuous based on how you dealt with your trauma, or a bunch of little events, or both. But you might not actually have ever had the chance to be who you really are. You might have always lived with trauma from the moment you were born. Even studies can get back to like conception. Like when I do energy work, the subconscious mind of people will let me know that there are beliefs that can come into like our energetic body from the moment we're conceived, depending on where our parents were at, or the two people that biologically conceived us. Isn't that crazy? You deserve a life without trauma. Your kids deserve to see and witness a woman unshelf herself, like literally like a whole bookshelf, just let it go. And to have a mom that actually feels playful. And let's not talk about your kids, because I don't want you to feel worse than you already do about all that you are not able to give them. You deserve a motherhood. You deserve to experience a motherhood where you get to be playful if you want to be. I want you to make a list, like in your mind, just for a minute. Anything you want to be, any way you want to be that you feel like you can't be. Think about all the influencers, or like your favorite cousin, or somebody in your life that's like a role model to you, and she is a way that you want to be, but you don't know how to be, and you really want to be her. I'm going to tell you that the only thing standing between you and her, and again, you're not wanting to be her because you hate yourself, right? But because you recognize what I want to say. Here's what I want to say. When you see something in someone that you want, it's because it's in you, but it's buried under trauma. Let me say that again. Anything you see in another woman that you want, and you don't currently experience it, but you, like from a deep place in you, you want it, and you kind of know, maybe on a deep level, or you want to believe that you can have it. The only thing standing between you and that way of being, whether it's the way she takes care of her skin or the way she is with her kids, is trauma in your body. That's it. And the good news is there's simple, effective ways to release trauma. But it is not going to be a walk in the damn park. Don't want it. You don't even want that, because that's cheap. You don't want cheap anymore. We've all done cheap. I just made this shift lately where I don't buy cheap, like Target, not my store anymore. I love you, Target. I love all the moms that shop at Target. I've outgrown Target. I'm so sick of fast fashion. I'm so sick of buying things that shrink or tear, whatever. Like, I just want sustainable, quality clothing. I want to pay $50 for a pair of sweatpants and know that I can feel ethically, morally good in them, and that I've done the best I can to help protect the earth. You know what I mean? It's like, now, no judgment. Seriously, no judgment if you love Target. Don't worry. I get you. Okay. It's all good. But that's just an example of where I've shifted to as I've unleashed and unloaded more trauma. That is one beautiful thing about me that I never could really access because I was always fawning to my parents or to siblings or to my husband, trying to be someone I wasn't. Did you know that being someone you aren't is a trauma response? And it's collective. It's in the air. But you don't have to settle for that. You don't have to bring that into your motherhood for your children if you don't want to. You are completely worthy of and capable of blasting through trauma. And it doesn't always feel like blasting through. Sometimes it feels like you're going on a roller coaster ride and it's dropping you down such a high drop. You know, like it's a journey, and I'm here for it, my friends. I'm here for it. So let me tell you about this group program. It's starting March 14th. Okay. Now is the time. Don't wait if you have trauma. Did you know acne can be, and rashes and like chronic pain and autoimmune stuff? Trauma. How much of us do we not even realize? Our medical world is very, they call it a subject-object split. So mainstream medicine is built on a subject-object split. This means that we look at symptoms as something that is separate from you, and we treat them as if they're separate from you. We don't look at symptoms and say, oh, this is part of you. Where's the root of this? We don't do that, unfortunately. We really don't. And so now functional medicine is getting better at getting to the root, but ultimately your nervous system is the root of the health of your body. Ask any doctor. The nervous system has to do with how your skin turns out, how your muscles develop, your blood. So many systems in your body are based, your hormones, the nervous system. And your nervous system is also where trauma is stored. So you can imagine that if we're not nervous system informed, then all kinds of things can get out of whack. Okay? So in my 12-week program, it starts March 14th, we're going to be getting educated about all of the things. Let me tell you what we're going to get educated about. We're going to start with safety. So when you get there, like the first week or two, we're going to be talking about whatever you guys need to talk about, but we're going to be making an emphasis on making sure everybody feels safe. So I know a lot of you guys have a hard time feeling safe in groups. Okay? And I want you to know that I'm aware of that. And I see you, and my group is for you. This is a group for people who don't feel safe in groups. I just want you to try on the belief that it's possible that I am capable of helping you feel safe. Now, if you don't want to believe that, or you feel like there's too much at risk to believe that, then maybe this group isn't for you. But if you want to be in my group, don't tell yourself you can't be because you're just not a person that does well in groups. Because then you're being a victim of your trauma. What I mean is your trauma is getting to the driver's seat of your life. Okay? I want you to try on the belief today. What if it's possible that you can feel safe in my group? Do you think it's possible that I could be that good at creating and building safety? Because guess what? In the first call, we set a bunch of different rules and like guidelines and things that we do. Everything from like when someone's done talking, the next person that talks says thank you, because we are protecting each other. We are being delicate, gentle. Okay? So the first way we heal is safety in my group. Okay? The next thing we do is we got to understand our symptoms, because if we don't understand our symptoms, what happens is self-separation, which can equal panic attacks and anxiety. If we don't understand our symptoms, we cannot actually manage them. So the first thing we do is we understand why they're happening. The confusion is done. We are empowered, not confused. We are educated and aware, not confused. Once we are more empowered, here's what's going to happen. You're going to start having your own ideas of how to manage your symptoms, and you're going to partner your own intuition that's going to start to turn on with my 3-step process, which is calm your body, calm your mind, calm your life. And from that point, for the next, 10 weeks, let's say, or even 12, all of the 12 weeks, we're going to be breaking down how to calm your body, and not just in the moment. My goal is that you live in your body in a calm way all the time, that you are nervous system aware. And you know how to, number one, recognize when your nervous system is dysregulated, right? Remember I said we'd talk about dysregulated? Dysregulated just means activated without your permission. You were triggered, okay? Whether it's a thought, what if this happens and it's like an anxiety, we trigger into anxiety, or we trigger into trauma from like a past memory, or, seeing something on a TV show that reminds us of past trauma. So for the next weeks, we're going to just be like 10 to 12 weeks, depending on like how long it takes us to set the container and stuff. We are just going to be digging. And each thing we find, we're going to hold the space for it, and we're going to learn how to release it. Now, you might be thinking, how is that possible when there's like multiple people in a group? So I want to tell you about this magic thing that happens in my groups. Okay, it's called, I'm going to call it like healing by proxy. And what I mean is your sister, we call each other sisters in my groups. So your sister, you don't have to call each other sisters if you think it's weird, but I am like, hey, we're all sisters, kind of like that vibe. So one of your sister girls may be talking, and everything she's saying might not be the exact same things that have happened in your life, or they might be, because seriously, it's scary how like the same we all are. But there will be themes or content in what she's saying that resonates and hits you. And what happens in my groups is that your body will take what it needs from what somebody's saying. So I'm going to sum this up for you by saying that the magical thing is when you decide that I'm safe and that you want to be safe, you want to safely work through your trauma, what happens is that your body is primed to heal, and it will heal. And you don't have to drive that healing from your brain. You can like sit back and go on autopilot, and healing just happens. Remember, a couple episodes back, I think it was like 238 or 239, healing is not achieved. It's received. Literally, you receive healing. Your body just does it. Your brain does not do it. Your body does the healing. The whole science of healing is learning how to sit back and let your body do its damn thing. Get your effing brain out of the way. Yeah? Okay, so this is what we're doing. It's 12 weeks, and you can always do it again if you want to do it again. Somebody asked me that. Yes. I don't know exactly when the second group, the next cohort will be launching. And we go off of my course. So I have a course that is amazing. It's popular. People like it. They're using it. They're getting results. You can see comments when you're going through it. You can ask my past clients. Okay. My website has testimonials, whatever. So, you go through the course, and we're going to be taking a few videos at a time. We're doing them together, although you can totally rush through and like look at whatever you want to. But each week we're kind of taking it step by step. We're going in like a linear thing, and then we're coaching. So each week there's going to be teaching about the videos and kind of reviewing, asking questions about the videos, really landing in like being able to apply them. And then coaching is where we really get into like the deep, personal individual work. All right. And I never make my groups so big that people aren't, that they're getting missed and stuff. So don't worry about that. So if you want to join us, you can go to LizzieLangston.com/consult. I have 30-minute free consults for the group, and you can book one. If there's not space for a consult, because I can only fit so many on my calendar between my clients and other things I'm doing. So if there were to not be space, I'm going to do an informational call about trauma and about depression and anxiety. And I'm going to be teaching a little bit and then just taking open questions on Thursday, March 10th. So a week from today. And that's just a few days before my group starts. So if booking a one-on-one consult feels a little bit, you're not quite ready for that, you can come to this informational call. I will be sending out a Zoom link to people's emails. I'll be posting it on social media, but it's Thursday, March 10th. Okay. And that'll be from 9:45 a.m. to 11 Mountain Standard Time. So you can get there at 10. I'm going to hop on 15 minutes early at 9:45 so that we just have as much time as possible because I do have an appointment at 11 and I have a client from 9 to, till 9:30. So 9:45, March 10th until 10 is an open question and answer thing for people who are interested in my group coaching program. And just if you want to come, get to know me better, that's great. And I will be sending out a Zoom link in the email. So make sure you're on my email list. If you're not on my email list, you just need to go to lizzieLangston.com/freebie and there's a form, you put your name and email, you'll get a freebie, a postpartum anxiety and depression guide, and then you'll be on my list, okay? So that you won't miss the link for the info call. But other than that, you can go to lizzieLangston.com/consult. If you want a 30-minute consult, those are going fast. I only have a couple days open for consults. So book your consult if you're interested in group. Otherwise, make sure you're on my email list and you will get the informational call for the group. And like I said, we start March 14th. I can't even wait. It's going to be planet changing. I've just decided when we work on ourselves in this way, we literally change the collective resonance of this planet. You want to participate in that? Me too. All right, I'll see you there. March 10th, info call. March 14th, it starts. Boom, baby. See you on the next podcast. Hey, Lizzie here. I've helped dozens of postpartum moms just like you to manage their postpartum anxiety and deconstruct their postpartum depression. It's really easy for me. So if you're ready to feel better, I know the way. Let's chat on the phone. Set up a time by going to lizzieLangston.com/consult. It's pretty simple, and I will be calling you soon.